What's going on, everybody? Happy Saturday. Hope you guys are having a great weekend so far. It's, 1 o'clock for most of you. Hey, Kimberly. Hey, Caitlin. So, in case you guys haven't noticed, I figured out how to add the live chat to the stream. So, as it records later on, when people watch this, they'll actually be able to see what the hell we were talking about in the chat room. So welcome everybody, Federal Prison Time with rdapdan. Hope you guys enjoyed our new Wednesday segment, which is going to be every Wednesday now. Wednesday's Ladies Night, where we're going to be focusing on issues for women that are preparing for federal prison, because we have been getting a lot of requests from women finding out if there's any major differences versus what most men might be facing going into federal prison. So let me move this over here so I can look at the screen and look at you guys at the same time. So I want to look at you guys' pretty faces this morning. All right, so Kevin, what's going on, my man? Caitlin, Kimberly, got everybody joining us. We got Robert in the room. Awesome, awesome. So as you guys can see, the topic of today's video, we have not a client but a viewer, Sean Cowgill. Most of you, maybe some of you remember him. He was always hanging out in the chat room with us. And Sean Cowgill is over at Florence, the camp for men in Florence. Hey, Source Irrelevant, he's in Arizona. Yeah, I believe that's where Florence is, Florence, Arizona. No, Colorado, I think. Yeah, he's in Colorado, not Arizona. But Money Mike, you remember him. So Sean's been doing really well, guys. Sean got to the camp. He immediately started getting around, commingling. He was able to integrate an AA program, Alcohol Anonymous, that they didn't already have. He was able to get all the information sent into him from some kind of a corporate headquarters for Alcohol Anonymous. And I've been, for the most part, getting really upbeat emails from him almost on a weekly basis until yesterday or the day before. I received an email from him, and remember, he's at a camp. He's not at a medium. He's not at a low. He's not at a pen. He's at a camp. So I want to we're going to actually pull up this email, and we're going to read the email, let you guys see it. And the reason why we're focusing on this today, guys, is for those of you that are getting ready to go to a camp or a low security. I know we really focus on there's not a lot of danger. There's not a lot of things to worry about. However, you still need to maintain being very mindful of your surroundings and your situation, because you're still in prison. Just because you're at a lower security prison does not mean things cannot happen. So we're going to read this email, and then we're going to talk a little bit about what Sean possibly could be doing different, and maybe some of you guys have some ideas. His contact information is in the description. It's also in this chat at the top of the chat. Maybe you guys want to send him a letter. Maybe you guys want to add him to your, have him add you to core links where you can email back and forth with him. Also, Sean is not a client. Sean is one of our, I would say, indigent viewers who literally went into prison with nothing, and helping him buy additional things like the hygiene that you can purchase off of commissary, some additional food items. We do try to raise money, send it to Sean every month. We send a little bit of our own money as well. So if you guys do feel like you're in the mood for giving, go ahead and tap that super chat icon right by where you start typing, and any donations will be sent to Sean Cowgill. And if you want to send donations to him yourself, you got all of his information in there. So there we go. So let's go ahead and read this email from Sean, okay? Let's pop it up here, make sure I don't, and here we go. Okay. So this is basically what a core links email looks like as it comes in. This is the inbox where you log into. Subject: I was threatened by my cellie today. I do not feel safe here no more. I asked my cellie to clean his pile of dirty dishes, and he had a fit. He got right in my face with a look like he was going to kill me. How dare you ask me to clean this up? Don't you know who you're talking to? He said this in my house. I was here first, and if you don't like it, go to the counselor and move. I would go to the counselor, but she is gone until Monday, and it's Friday. This guy is some sort of shot caller for the cartel or Pisces or some Mexican gangbanger. All day long, people come and go and give him tunas and meats and gifts. They always speak Spanish in secret and laugh at me as they talk. I get stared down by all gangbangers on my range. I never felt peace in this cell, and today I'm very scared. I don't know how I'm going to make it through my time here. It turns out this camp is full of gangbangers who do not like white people. They make that clear. I have been kicked out of all the TV rooms because I am white. The only TV room I found for whites was only if you are from Texas. I do my best to take classes and go to church and starting the AA meeting and do positive things, but today is very scary. I'm all alone here. The only people I can talk to seem to be Mormons. They have been nice, so I'll keep going to their services. I did not come here to get religious, but today I am scared. So there you go. There's an email from Sean Cowgill. And so there's a couple of concerning issues there. I mean, obviously, we can point out the obvious. So you're going to live with people in prison. You're going to have cellmates, bunkies, whatever you want to call it. Most of you, if you're going to a camp, it's possibly going to be like an open bay with just rows and rows of bunks. And, you know, your bunkmate will be your bunkmate or your cellie. You might be in cubicles. If you're possibly going to a medium security, you might even have cells that would actually doors close. But you are going to be with somebody or multiple people. So you have to find a way to coexist and maintain. Now, nobody wants to live with a sloppy bunkie or a cellie or a cellmate, whatever you want to call it. Nobody wants to live with somebody that's not clean, doesn't pick up after themselves. That's why you really need to do your homework prior to deciding who you're going to go live with. Because, as you can see, they call it their house. Your space, your private space becomes your home. This is your house. You'll find yourself saying crazy things later on like, hey, come over to my house after work. And really, they're walking like 3 aisles over to a space. That's your house because that's where you live. This is where you take pride. You keep it clean. You fold your clothes. You make your bed. Your shelf or your locker stays organized because it gives you a sense of peace. But if your cellie is not maintaining this, if your cellie is a wreck and he's got dirty dishes everywhere, it's in your space as well. So that can affect your mood. So you need to decide how you're going to handle this. Now, if you're a good judge of character, maybe you've got a good relationship with your cellie and you can talk to him. But if you do not have a good relationship with your cellie and you decide to step up and be assertive in your communication and say, hey man, we live here together. I need you to clean up. You need to be prepared for a potential consequence that could come from that. And a consequence for Sean right now is this guy did not like Sean making that statement. This guy stood up, bowed up to him, told him, this is my house. I was here first. I run rules here. If you don't like it, get the fuck out. So now Sean needs to go talk with his unit manager or the case manager to get himself moved. And he's got to be careful of what he says because if he goes in there and says he feels threatened, like that email that he wrote, the email that we just read, they read your inbound and outbound emails. They can read all of your emails. If they read this email and they feel like he does not feel safe, they could put him in solitary confinement. They could SIS, which is basically it's the unit there that oversees. It's like the police within the police or the police within the prison. They could come in and investigate to see what's going on. You know, he's sitting here making claims on this email that this guy's a shot caller. He's a gangbanger. So now you're going to have somebody from the prison probably reading this email. I wouldn't be surprised if Sean doesn't get called into an office and really gets talked to about this where they want to ask him, well, what violence is going on here? What gangbanging is going on? What is it that you're aware of? Now Sean's put himself into a situation where he didn't handle this properly. I'm not saying don't reach out. Like if he really wanted to contact me with this, the best thing to do would have been to write a handwritten letter and mail it because they don't read your outgoing mail. But now he's put himself possibly on blast. And that can be a terrifying situation in prison if all of a sudden, because this could very easily get spun into he's snitching or he's telling, and really he was just venting in the email. But this could be taken in so many different circumstances that could have really adverse effects on how Sean is going to be able to do his time. He's at a camp, guys. You know, we all talk about federal prison, Camp Cupcake, and everybody wants to go to a camp. Well, just because you're at a camp does not necessarily mean that you can just do what you want to do, say what you want to say, and not potentially have to face consequences. Some of these guys that are in the camps have started off in much higher security prisons, pens, mediums, lows, all the way down to the camp, and they know how cushy it is. But at the same time, they still have that same mentality where if somebody steps to them, that knee-jerk reaction pops in, and you can very easily get removed from a camp. Even if Sean were to make a statement, dry snitching. There, Ryan's called it dry snitching. Even if Sean were to get in a fight, he didn't start the fight. He made a statement to this guy. This guy got up, started hitting him. They're both in trouble. And there's a very, 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 very good chance that they would both be removed from the camp and sent upper custody to like a low. He's in a medium, Dan, not a camp. No, I know it says medium on the BOP's website, but he's at the camp there. He's not in a medium, just so you know, Kevin. He's actually at the camp. It just, for some reason, even like when I was at Coleman Low, it said I was at the medium when really I was at the low. The same thing for Shelley. She was at the camp at Coleman. They don't have a women's anything other than a camp, but it still said she was in the medium. Carrie Ann, what's going on, Carrie Ann? How are you? Thank you for joining us. So yeah, guys, so I really, really want to stress this to you guys is you need to go into prison with a plan of action. You can't just go into prison and live life the way you want without potentially facing consequences. I was talking to one of my clients, Chris, the other day, and we were talking about decisions and choices. If you're willing to make a decision or a choice and you've filtered out what the possible consequences could be and you're willing to live with those consequences, then I say it's a good decision in my book. If you think it's risk, if you think risk is versus the reward, then it's worth taking that risk. If you know what the risk is and you're willing you're still willing to do it, that's up to you. But if you can focus on consequences before you make your choices and before you make your decisions, before Sean went and said to this guy, hey, clean up your fucking dishes. Clearly, this probably wasn't the first time that this guy hasn't cleaned up his dishes, and it's been piling up, and who knows, maybe Sean had a bad phone call, and he walks in, sees dirty dishes, and boom, pops off. Didn't think about the consequences. If he would have thought this through properly and said, what if this guy doesn't take to me talking to him like this? He already identified that this guy is some kind of a shot caller throughout the prison. People are coming in there and giving him tunas and meats and gifts, talking in Spanish. So he already knows this guy's somebody on the compound, which means this guy probably is not used to people confronting him. So if Sean would have focused on that more, maybe he would have said, you know what? I'm just going to fucking deal with this for the weekend. I'm going to lay in my bunk, read my book. I'm going to go to the unit manager. I'm going to say, look, it's nothing. It's no real big deals. I feel like me and this guy don't click very well, and I just think it's better if I move. Safer for everybody. Not safer, but just better for everybody. I'd rather bunk up with somebody that I can communicate with and have a conversation with. Me and this guy just don't really see eye to eye, and leave it at that. But if you go in there and say he threatened me and this and that, holy fuck, you're starting a whole potential issue for yourself and for the other person that can spiral. If this guy really is somebody on the compound, I mean, everyone's going to know that Sean was the one that raised this awareness. So you guys got to be really, really, really careful. 3 weeks since my guy went to a low. Wish there was a channel, or maybe you can have a day dedicated on how to be a great federal prison wife. Husband. Carrie Ann, we can work on it, especially if you email me some questions and some concerns and where you feel like the lost in translation is there. And don't forget, for those of you that are just joining, every Wednesday is now going to be dedicated to women. It's Wednesdays Lady Night, where we're going to focus on topics and concerns that women deal with, either going into prison or, like in Carrie Ann's situation, she's got a loved one in prison. How does she deal? So that's the same. That would be a good fit for a Wednesday night episode. I do have some ladies that do want to come on and be guests on the shows that are prison wives. They didn't actually go to prison, but they've got loved ones in prison, and they want to come on and talk about, their stresses, their everyday, what's going on. So that might be a good one for you to watch, Carrie Ann. Dirty Pat, what's going on? Funny how much this can relate to the free world as well, Dan. Thanks for doing this video. Absolutely. And this does relate to the real world. That's the thing, is prison is just a magnification of your everyday life. The difference is, in your everyday life, you've got your cave. You've got somewhere you can disappear to where nobody can get to you. For the most part, you can go to your house. You can go to your bedroom. You can go to a different room in your house. You can get away from people to sometimes avoid conflict. But when you're in a prison environment, all of these things are intensified because you are with somebody for the most part 24/7. When you're sleeping, there's someone sleeping 3 feet away from you, up above you, below you, next to you. You don't know where they are until you get there, but that's how these situations are set up. You're either in a bunk situation or you're in a bed side-by-side situation, but you're never going to find a lot of alone time other than the shower, using the bathroom and the stall. Maybe you found some alone time in the library. If you can find a spot that's quiet and nobody's at, and everybody will find that spot within the prison system where they look forward to getting to wherever it is that during that moment of the day where it's really quiet and there's limited people. There's always that spot. I was fortunate once I got into RDAP to get moved to a really cool cell in the back. Even though I had a cubicle, I still had my cellie, but he was super quiet. This young guy, he was kind of a kid still, this kid Lagarzo, and we got along really well. I didn't bother him. He didn't bother me. We got along with each other well. If we were in the mood to talk, we had good conversations. He could tell if I wasn't in the mood. I could tell if he wasn't in the mood. So we were a good fit. It was a good relationship with him in my cell because we knew each other's buttons not to push, and we also had no problem if he was like, hey man, is there any way you can help me out? I know today's my day to sweep and mop, but I got a visitation, so I want to get ready. Yeah, I got you, man. Without even asking, he would return that favor. He would ask me on the next day, it's my turn to clean. He'd be like, hey, you want me to do it today, or do you have a different day that you want me to do it? And that's the kind of relationship you eventually want to forge in prison, because it makes your time go by a lot better when you have somebody that you can count on, somebody you're not worried about, somebody that you don't think is going to steal from you, somebody that's not out to get you. And the most important thing is you need your space, your comfort zone, even if it's just a mental comfort zone. You need to be able to lay in your bunk and relax if you want to without having, your cellie has to respect that. Like I was with a cellie that would just always have people over all the time, just people in and out of the cell hanging out. And usually wasn't a big deal because they were, for the most part, they were all nice guys, but it's like, fuck, man. It's like sometimes I'm in there reading my book and he's got 2 or 3 buddies in there and they're talking and they're laughing. And, and he was there first. It was I came into his cell, so I wasn't going to say, hey, stop bringing your friends over. I just realized that this wasn't going to be the best fit for me. It wasn't the worst scenario, so I'm going to ride this out until something better comes along. But I made it very known to the orderly that was in charge of moving you that I'm like, hey, when a 2-man cell becomes available that I can move into as the primary, meaning it's my cell, let me know, because I'm going to pick somebody that I want to bring with me. Once you level into a certain phase of RDAP, in most prisons, they give you that seniority. So I strategically planned my final move to where I could spend my final few months in peace and quiet and focus on what I needed to focus on. You can't just shoot from the hip in this and do things what Sean Cowgill is doing, because it has consequences. Arguing with people, confronting people can have consequences in prison. So you're dead on when you said that. It's very much like the real world. Dirty. I'm just going to call you Dirty because your name's too long. Sean needs to learn some basic Latin culture. Sounds like he may be and that could be another thing is, he's in the minority there, clearly, and he needs to learn how to coexist. These are going to, his outdate, I forgot what it was. I think it's 21. I mean, he's in the RDAP, and that's the thing. He's also in the RDAP unit. He hasn't started RDAP yet. He's what's called a wait status because there's a lot of people with earlier release dates than him, so they get priority for the classes. But he's in the unit living with all the other RDAPers. So it sounds like this camp is not run like a typical RDAP. I can tell you where I was at. If I went to my cellie and said, hey man, can you pick up your dishes? And he were to react the way Sean displayed, that would be a huge issue in RDAP, to the point where he would get pulled up. It would be an issue. It'd be threatening. And the RDAP I was in does not stand for stuff like that. Sounds like some RDAPs are not ran with the same type of intensity, which is good and bad. If you're in a laid back RDAP, yeah, you can bullshit, you can goof around, but at the same time, you've got all the clowns in the unit running around, running scams, running gambling, doing things that they're not supposed to do, where when you're in a unit where everybody in there fears the consequences of what the RDAP coordinator will do to you if she finds out, everybody walks a tight line and nobody wants to offend anybody because they're afraid of how that's going to react. Just reading some notes here. I'm Colombian, and there are certain Latin cultures, okay, but Mexican may not have the same culture. We love black beans and yellow rice and cheese, but not the same in other Latin cultures. Yeah, and every culture has their little thing, their niche, what it is they do like. But in prison, you have to be able to form alliances with pretty much everybody when you're in a camp or low. And that's the guys that are going to do really well. Obviously, cliques are going to stick together. Latins are going to stay with Latins. Whites, for the most part, are still going to hang out with each other. Blacks are going to still hang out with each other because it's just the natural prison routine, even in camps and lows. But you are completely okay to commingle and go hang out. Like I used to spend, I forgot what night it was. It was maybe Thursday night. And there wasn't a whole lot of TV show options to watch in prison. And one of the biggest shows that everybody watched was Love and Hip Hop, believe it or not. I wasn't a huge fan of it, but just like anything else, if you watch it long enough, you can engage and, pass some time. So I used to go into the TV room where they would watch Love and Hip Hop. And, I'm pretty much the only white guy in there. And at first, I kind of get some looks, and they all knew me from the compound. So they're like, what are you doing in here, Wise? I'm like, well, what are you doing in here? It's like, go ahead, make it about race. I dare you. And nobody ever wanted to cross that road. So they just ended up accepting me. And, they knew my spot, where my spot was to go sit. But it allowed me to build alliances and forge good relationships with other groups and other ethnics, because you never know when you're going to need something from somebody, or something goes crazy, a riot pops off. We never had any riots, but I knew guys that went through riots, white guys that went through riots, and they all told me the same thing. Do your best to be friends with everybody, because when something does go down, nobody is going to attack you. And that was good advice. And I was friends with everybody, from the Puerto Ricans all the way to with everybody. The Muslims, one of my best friends in there was Muslim. So you just got it. You got to survive in prison. You have to use your survival skills, and those are people skills. So, if you guys have any loving advice for Sean, and you feel like taking 10 minutes out of your day and writing him a letter, again, all his information is, reposted in the room, just so. How cool is this? We got the chat in here. People that watch this video later are going to be able to see the chat. That has bugged me so much about YouTube. I'm like, why is there no chat? How come the chat can't be carried over? And I found a way to do it, because I'm RDAP fucking Dan. All right, so let's post this back in here. So I got like 3 things going on here at the same time. And kaboom. All right. There's Sean's information again, guys. You got his name. You got his register number. It came in kind of jumbled because of the way it puts it in the text. But send him a letter. Let Sean know. Say, hey, man, Dan was talking about you on a video, and here's some information. You can turn slow chat on too. Yeah, I got yelled at when I had slow chat on. I had slow chat on Wednesday, guys, and the purpose for slow chat is to be able to monitor the chats as they come in. And sometimes we get some hooligans in the room that like to say some really rude things. And being we had a lady in the room with us. Now, I mean, there's a lot of ladies in the room, but we were interviewing a lady. I didn't know what kind of rude comments might get thrown her way. So I had slow chat on for the most part. And then I saw everybody was being respectful, so I went ahead and took it off. I don't want to micromanage and have to focus on that kind of stuff, guys. But, there's some idiots in the world that like to come in and troll these rooms. And they're probably from other channels or competition or something else. Who knows? So what else you guys got going on this weekend? Anything good? I'm still waiting to hear back from probation. So or not probation, my sentencing judge. I wrote a letter. It's been about 3 weeks now. I wrote a letter. God, time flies, right? I wrote a letter to my sentencing judge requesting to terminate my probation at the end of this month going into next month, because I'll have 1 full year of probation under my belt. And I have not received a letter back yet. And I was expecting to get something back. Everybody I hear that sends out letters to the sentencing judges, they all tell me they get a response within 1 to 2 weeks. So I'm a little bit impatient. Every day I go check the mail and I'm like hoping. But I'll tell you what, when I do get the letter, I'm going to open it and read it live. I'm not going to open it and read it. So you might get remember, if you haven't already, now I'm going to do that the day I get it, because if I get it, let's say on like a, Tuesday, I'm not going to necessarily wait till Wednesday or Saturday to read it. I'm going to do it on the spot. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to get ready. I'm going to send you guys a text message. So if you want to get notification to see me live reading my response from the court system on whether or not they're going to terminate my probation early, you need to text the word YouTube to 35074, because that's the only heads up I'm going to give that I'm going live. Other than that, maybe you'll get lucky and you'll see that I'm live on YouTube and be able to hit the button. But if you want to get notification, I will send a 10-15 minute heads up through the text message service that I use. So all you need to do is text the word YouTube to 35074. That will put you on that notification list. Just like those of you earlier, we almost didn't have the live stream today. There was a worldwide issue with YouTube to where the live stream wasn't working. When you click on it, it just had an error. So I was like, fuck, maybe we're not going to go live today. So I sent out a text message to the 40 plus people that are in that group, and they were the only ones that would have known not to be waiting around and then go, oh, he didn't come on. So guys, it benefits you to be on that. I don't abuse it. I don't send you text messages all the time. I'm not soliciting. I'm not selling you anything. It's just to let you know upcoming, if we're making changes to times, if we're going to be doing anything special. Me reading my response, whether or not I got off of probation early or not, that's going to be a big day, whether I do or I don't. I mean, I really want it. I really want to be done. But I don't really think they're going to approve it until I've had at least half of my time done, which is basically, another 6 months. I've got 3 years of probation, supervised release. Well, there's that Justin guy that talks shit about you, kind of passive aggressively, because you don't charge enough. How do you know he talks shit about me? Did he do it on a video? I haven't seen this yet, Ryan. Just watched your interview with Elford. Did he manage to stay out? How are Serge and Todd? Elford did manage to stay out. Elford's doing good. It's Casimir. That's my buddy. He's in Orlando, Florida. He's chasing his dream as an actor / model / doing whatever jobs he can do on the side to feed that dream. So he's doing really good, though. He's staying out of trouble. He's a really, really good guy. Made a bad decision, just like so many of you. Really good people make bad decisions, and unfortunately, he paid for it. Went to federal prison. Went through RDAP. Didn't make it through RDAP the first time, got recycled 90 days back, had to get reset, do 90 days additional, and it was a real struggle for him in there. But he's doing good. You guys asked about Serge. Serge is doing really well. Serge is at Sheridan, and Sheridan is where Sheridan has RDAP, and anybody that was in Lompoc at the camp gets sent over to Sheridan to do RDAP. Also, Lompoc did something where they got rid of a special medical security and all of those inmates that required additional medical that were at Lompoc that were getting the treatment also got shipped to Sheridan. So from my understanding, Sheridan is really overpopulated right now between all the RDAPers and all the medical people that came over there. So keep that in mind. If you're getting ready to get sentenced and you're in the California area and you're thinking that your attorney's telling you to go to Lompoc because they offer RDAP, Lompoc does not have RDAP for campers. You're going to get transferred from Lompoc to Sheridan, and that process does not happen overnight. So depending on the length of your sentence, you really want to prepare for that and possibly try to get redesignated before you leave to make sure you can enter into RDAP properly. I have friends die regularly. I won't go into it, but sorry for you. I'm just reading some of these messages here. Is that normal that they have separate TV rooms for states? That's not normal in a camp. That's normal in a higher security prison where it's ran by politic. But sounds like some camps and some lows are run a little bit rougher. Now, they do have, like where I was at, there was multiple, let's see. There was 3 small TV rooms, with each room had one TV in it, and maybe you could sit 10, 15 guys. They had like a Spanish room. They had pretty much like a black room, and then they had, we'll call it like a white mix room. And then the large TV room had, I can't remember how many, but like 7 or 8 TVs in it, big screen TVs up on the wall. That room could sit easily 100 people. And there was always something different playing on the TVs. They had one TV that was designated just for like news. They had other TVs that were like, there was always usually somebody running the TVs. I never got involved with running TVs. I would go in. The only things that I watched that I enjoyed watching were they'd play prison movies, basically, where it would be all the prison, like every TV would play this movie during certain time, Friday, Saturday, and Sundays. So it was institution movies that they would get from like Netflix or whatever, and they were pretty recent, up-to-date movies. So I would enjoy the movie night, and the nights that they'd watch Walking Dead, and then I'd get up early in the morning, I'd go watch the news. They usually had like CNN or something like that was on, and there wasn't many people in the TV room early in the morning because everyone's sleeping. So that was a really good quiet time. I'd get my coffee, 6 in the morning, go hang out in the TV room, sipping my coffee, have my headphones on, get caught up on the news and the weather, what's going on, and then start your day. But so let's see what we got here. I always thought there was a white TV room, a black TV room, etc., but never heard of rooms being separated by state. Yeah, I'm not really too familiar with being separated by state. I know in the higher politic prisons, you have a lot of like wherever you're from, like let's say you're black, but you're from Atlanta, they're going to tell you, okay, those guys are over there. So it's not just, but all together they can commingle within each other, but they still have their own states, and they're called cars. They have their additional cars that are run by different leaders of those states. So it's a lot to take in. Most of us don't have to worry about that going to a camp or a low, but we're seeing that these do exist. Like right now, we have another client that's over at Yazoo. He's at the Yazoo low, and that place is run like a rough medium. People getting killed, people getting stabbed, lockdowns all day long. One of our clients in there that we were trying to hopefully help get some additional halfway house time, he keeps getting himself into little altercations because he's a smaller guy, so he doesn't want anybody to push him around. So he pops off really quick at the mouth, gets himself into altercations, and it puts him into danger because now he's in solitary confinement. He's in the SHU for his safety. He started off at a camp, and he allowed somebody to get under his skin. He got in a fight, and he punched somebody, or somebody punched him, or whatever happened. Then he got shipped. These are the consequences. I guarantee you there's not a moment that goes by that he's not sitting in solitary confinement in the SHU thinking, fuck, I wish I was still at the camp and I just ignored that guy that was running his mouth, because it's not worth losing all this extra freedom that you have. Very limited freedom as it is. Prison inside a prison is no joke. Tomorrow, just talking about you. Well, not about you, but about your situation with Ian. That's I sent you an email, by the way. I'm not sure if you got it or not. But Ian's just in a real rough situation right now that unfortunately there's not a lot that can be done, and I know you probably feel like what do I do? And, but these are choices that we have to deal with and we live with in life when we make these choices. And there were several times where those choices presented themselves to me in prison, and I was so terrified of the potential of where I would go if I were to allow myself to react. And some people just, that filter is not as heightened. And those are things that are, RDAP helped me with, to focus on calming my temper down, taking a time out, walk away for a minute, think about what's going to happen if I react. If that guy cuts me off on the interstate and I decide I'm going to go cut him off back, what potentially could happen from that? A ticket, a fight, a shootout, somebody die, you never know, a jail, all kinds of consequences that we don't think about in the moment. And we need to be able to think about it in the moment. It's called an RSA, Rational Self-Analysis. What's going on, Juan Carlos? Welcome. Juan Carlos, another client. Juan sends me some funny, he keeps me and Shelly laughing, I can tell you that. We enjoy your random emails, Juan, so keep them coming. Shelly especially enjoys them. You're definitely Shelly's favorite client, Juan. I'll tell you that right now. Out of all the clients we have, Juan takes the cake with Shelly. So don't steal my lady, Juan. Don Juan. Kevin, I know someone in Yazoo. He's been in 3 other lows, and he said it's the worst place yet. Yeah, you know, my co-defendant, he tried to cause some conflict for me when we were in art, because we were at Coleman Low together. He got there 20 days before me. They gave me additional time to self-surrender because of my surgery on my arm, and we were both trying to get into RDAP. I was sentenced to 42 months. He was sentenced to 40 months. So we were both trying to get into RDAP, but he did not qualify for RDAP because when we got indicted, 12 months prior to that, Sean had been in a recovery program. Sean had a really bad addiction with drugs, like a really bad one. And he was in recovery prior to the 12 months. So he didn't have any substance abuse within that 12-month window. Well, that denied him for RDAP. And when he saw me get into RDAP, because I was never into hardcore drugs, I was never using heroin or anything like that. I was, smoking marijuana and drinking alcohol. And he felt that I didn't deserve to be in RDAP. He felt he deserved to be in RDAP. So he took it further than that. One day I got called into the office from Dr. Smith, the RDAP coordinator. And there was another inmate in there, this guy, Joe. And she's like, I need to talk to you about something. And I was like, okay. She's like, well, I'd like to do it in private. And I'm like, I didn't want it to seem like I was getting ready to tell on somebody or she was asking me questions, because that's always when they kick another inmate out of the room, that can be perceived as, oh, he's telling on somebody. So I'm like, no, he can stay. It's cool. So I let this other inmate, I think it was Joe, this guy, Joe Lees, who I'm friends with today on Facebook. And she was like, well, how well do you know Sean? Sean is my co-defendant, Sean Clark. And I said, not super personal, but I've known him for a couple years. I mean, he's an all right guy, I guess. She's like, well, just be careful. I was like, well, why are you telling me this? She didn't want to tell me. I'm like, Dr. Smith, now you've told me enough to raise my awareness, and I don't know where this is coming from, but now you're leaving me with like this cliffhanger. She goes, and then she just said it. He came in here yesterday and said that you should not be an RDAP, that you're not a real drug addict, that you just said what you needed to say to qualify for the program. She goes, before you say anything, it doesn't matter. You have the proper documentation on your pre-sentence report. I'm just letting you know that this guy's out to get you, so watch your back. And I was like, what the fuck? Really? And I immediately confronted Sean, not thinking of the consequences. It could have went real bad. He denied it, of course, completely denied it, but this is coming straight from the doctor at the residential drug addiction program, the main psychiatrist. In the psychology department. So clearly, these are things you got to worry about. People hate on people, and they don't want to see anything happen to anybody good. Shelly and I would probably get along swell. Yeah, you would definitely fit in well with our circle of friends, Juan. You, Chris, a few of you that I've had some really like personal conversations with. You guys would definitely, in a different land and different times, we would all be friends, laughing about it. And maybe we will. Maybe someday we'll all be kicking back, having a beer, talking about this situation that we went through and how it's made us all stronger people. But some of you still got to get through it. You got to get on the other side. Is this about to be a raid? Shader Wolf, is this about to be a raid? What are we referring to, Shader Wolf? Hopefully no raids. I don't like the word raid. I picture U.S. Marshals running in behind me right now. You guys would see a very scared fucking rdapdan if U.S. Marshals stormed in here right now. I'd be like, what did I do? I didn't do it. So guys, yeah, remember, if you want to help out Sean Cowgill, regardless of all the struggles he's going through mentally, he's also a indigent viewer from ours. He doesn't have any support from the outside. So if anybody wants to give any kind of a donation, All you got to do is click on that super chat, and every month we disperse donations to. We've got a few guys that are in prison that really can use the extra help for hygiene products, sweaters, some clothes, some extra soups, things like that. Really help with the time go by. So if you're able to do so, it's great. Doesn't it? $2, $5, $20, whatever you want, whatever you feel comfortable with donating goes to a great cause, guys. There's a lot of guys in prison and women in prison that go without. And granted, yes, they put themselves there, but prison can be extra hard when you don't have some basic necessities, some comforts. Yes, there's about to be a raid now. Where's the raid at, Shader Wolf? Raids, man, raids are terrifying. If anybody's been through a raid where they storm in your house, but for those of you that are getting ready to face federal prison, if you've gone through that, you know what that can be like. That is terrifying when they come, because they don't come one or two guys. They come deep, and they come strong. Let me hit up channel 4. So I guess there's something going on. They're doing a raid somewhere. Everybody flush the stuff now. Yeah, if you got anything, you don't want nothing. Appreciate it, Dirty, and that's not to make anybody feel bad. I know a lot of people in different situations, a lot of you guys that are getting ready to go in, you're saving every penny possible because you're going to need that extra help once you get in there. But make sure when you get into prison, guys, if you're on that indigent list where you've got no help, no support from the outside, and, just be honest about it, you let us know. We raise money every month and we send it in. We get donations, blind donations sent to us all the time through PayPal. We receive money orders in the P.O. box. So people are always trying to go a little bit above and beyond. So it's much appreciated. We also donate ourselves every month to guys and women to help out with their commissary. So definitely don't feel bad if you can't. Just reminding you guys the ability's there if you do want to. So much appreciated. Empty Pockets, how are you doing? Nice to see you. I sleep with a Glock and no one gets past my dog. Well, I can tell you, if the feds and the marshals storm your house, your Glock ain't going to do shit except maybe get you shot. So be careful. If you know that you're being watched, the Glock's not going to do much for you. It's going to get possibly you shot and your dog shot. They had guns. I mean, you see my dogs. My dogs are actually, you guys see my dogs? If I don't keep them with me, they cry. Where's my boys? So that's all Oliver and Einstein over there. If I put them in the other room, they just sit there and cry the whole time. So got to let them hang out with us. But when they came, they had guns on those little dogs. They had guns on them, automatic weapons. Get your dog, get your dog. I'm like, he's not even a real dog. He can't hurt anything. He can't hurt a cat. So we had to, get the dogs and lock them in the bathroom until we figured out what was going on. Scary stuff. Scary. What was your first thought when they came and raided you and Shelly that day in 2013? Fuck, man. So we got raided twice, just so you know. We got raided. The first time was before anybody was actually indicted. This was back in 2011. I wasn't there the day that it happened. I was in another state when they hit my house that morning, so I didn't witness. I didn't go through that one. Shelly did. The second one was just as surprising because we thought the case had died. We thought they had just dropped it because there was such a bullshit case. We didn't think they were going to pursue it. Our attorneys thought it was dying. Everybody thought it was dying. So 2013, we're back in Florida. Shelly's out of hair school. She's managing a Sport Clips. I have a thriving call center where we were doing student loan consolidations. We had, 45, 50 reps on the phone. We had a 3,500 square foot office. Things were going really, really well. Had been running for about a year, just going in a really good direction, thriving in all areas, life, happiness. We were just putting this behind us. Well, that morning in 2013, Shelly had just gotten up and she was in the shower and I was still laying in bed with the dogs. and it was about 6 in the morning, I guess. And I heard, we lived in a townhouse with a privacy fence around it with a gate. And I heard the gate rattle. And I thought, is that the fucking cat jumping on the gate? But it sounded a little louder than you, because the cat will jump on it and you'll hear a little clink clink. And then, but this was more like a open and close, like you heard the latch. And I was like, what was that? So I got up, and I live in a 2-story townhouse, and in the master bedroom there's a sliding door that goes out onto a balcony that you can look down. So I walked out onto I didn't open the balcony, I just opened the curtains, and I'm looking down, and the balcony is blocking because the balcony is over the front door, so I can't see the front door. I hear knocking, and then I seen somebody lean all the way back and look up, and I saw the jacket. It said U.S. Marshals. And door just boom. Oh, he saw me look at him, and then he was like, fuck, we got to go in now. So they opened the door. It was, I guess it was unlocked because I already taken the dogs out that morning. Door was unlocked. They came right in. And as he's coming in, I'm still at the window. I can see all these heads running around the corner because the privacy fence was high enough just so I could see tops of heads. Must have been 15, 20 heads just running in. Boom, 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 one another, automatic weapons in hand. I hear the front door fly open. U.S. Marshals coming in. Shelly Morford, where are you? I'm like, Shelly, what is this for? Because they're calling Shelly. We had thought, even prior to all of this happening, we thought Shelly was never even part of the investigation. We never thought Shelly was in danger at all. They never questioned her. She was never an issue. So when they came in for that, this didn't even cross my mind. I'm thinking, what the fuck did Shelly do? So Shelly's in the shower, and my dogs jump out of the bed, and they're taking off to go down the stairs. So I'm in my boxers. I run to my stairs, and there's just, man, my dogs are on the middle stair landing just barking at these guys, and they've got weapons on my dogs. And they're like, what's your name? What's your name? And I'm like, Daniel Wise. Daniel Wise, we have a warrant for your arrest out of Savannah, Georgia. And I was just like, fuck. Are you kidding me? And man, just a million thoughts went through my mind. Like, I'm getting transferred. I'm going to sit in county jail. I'm going to be bussed. I didn't know what was going to go on. And they sent females upstairs to get Shelly out of the shower, get her dressed. It was a real traumatic experience. And luckily, my daughter lived with me at the time. She was at her grandma's house. So my younger daughter lived with me full time during this moment, and she wasn't there, thank God. So these are situations that happens, guys. It's scary stuff. I'm just reading some emails here. Mr. Merrick asking if I've been trying to get a hold of Joe since we did that last video, and I've talked to him a few times here and there, but haven't really gotten any feedback from him as to what he would like to do next. So I'm not sure what. I know Joe's got a lot on his plate with growing that channel and maintaining. So we'll see where the future goes with After Prison Show. But I mean, it did amazing things for my channel. It really raised the awareness to additional people that didn't know I even existed. So I can't thank After Prison Show enough. And to the After Prison Show crew, APS Army, I really appreciate you guys for joining me. They threatened to kill my friend's 5 dogs in front of... when they come in there, their tactic is just scary, 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 scare the shit out of you, as nasty as can be. And, it just is what it is. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate because it doesn't... I mean, I get it. There's like hardened criminals out there, but I mean, they knew Shelly and I were not hardened criminals. We had this started in 2011. Now we're in 2013. We have never given them an issue. We have never not shown up to something. They knew exactly where we lived. They could have came and knocked on the door with like 2 people and been like, hey, this is what's going on. And it would have been fine. But we all know that that's a part of their entertainment for their job. When they're not doing paperwork, they love to be doing, cops and robbers, dressing up and putting on all their gear like they're ever, none of them have probably ever had to use it, but they go in heavy. And that's why I'm saying, if you're sitting there sleeping with a Glock and you've got some dog that's an attack dog and they come in your house, they will shoot your dog and they will shoot you if you got a gun in your hand. So, having a gun is not going to protect you from the marshals or any other governing agency storming your house. You know, a gun's going to protect you from an assailant, maybe somebody trying to sneak in and break in, yeah, to protect yourself. But man, you point a gun at a cop, you're done. We see what happens on TV all the time. So, and I'm not allowed to have a gun ever again. You know, no guns for rdapdan. I was never a fan of guns anyway. So I'm not really, it's upsetting that I know that I can't have one, but as far as the reality is, I probably wouldn't have one anyway. Yeah, I might print out the little transcript from this video and send it to Sean. Let him know you guys were thinking about him. A gun, if the gun is used in part of the crime, absolutely. But just for if you're not a convicted felon and you catch a charge and the gun wasn't used in the crime, you're not going to get 5 years. I have clients all the time that have gun enhancements because there was a gun in the premises, and a lot of times it either gets dropped or doesn't affect them. I just got a buddy that a new law that passed, the ACA law that passed a few years ago, it affected him to where it got rid of his minimum mandatory and brought his guidelines down to without, because he wasn't using the gun. The gun was just there when he got arrested, but they enhanced him and gave him a 15-year minimum. And it just got reduced, and he gets released this December, about 10 years early. So he's super excited. This guy, Dan Kirk, real nice guy, but he was in a car, got drunk, and there was a gun in the car. And when they pulled him over, he was a felon, but it wasn't his car, and it was just this whole nightmare. It wasn't his gun, but the gun it was like a shotgun that was hung up behind, you know, in the truck. So got to be careful out there. Even having bullets on you guys, if you're a convicted felon, you get pulled over and there's bullets or ammunition in the car, that in itself can violate probation, and also if you're a convicted felon, that puts you in possession of it's not just a firearm, it's firearm or ammunition. So you got to be careful. In conjunction with drugs, think it's a fine deal. You would know better. A gun will get you a mandatory. In conjunction with drugs, it's a fine deal. Yeah, if they raid your house and that's where they get the drugs and there's a gun, then yes, that's different. But if you got, like, let's say you were a money laundering case or tax fraud and they came to your house to get you and there was a gun in the safe, that's not going to get you an extra 5 years. But if the gun's associated to the crime or they can tie it to the crime, then that's different. There's all kinds of little innuendos in there. So we're going to be doing Wednesday, again, this coming Wednesday, we're going to be doing ladies' night with another young lady that has spent time in federal prison. And if you guys have any questions, if you're a woman getting ready to go to prison, make sure you can either email me or you can text me questions that you may have, and we'll make sure that we address some of these questions on Wednesday's live stream, 5:30 p.m. That's the new time for Wednesday, 5:30 p.m. Pacific time, PST. So yeah, Wednesday's night, ladies' night, helping women prepare for prison, after prison, and helping prison wives or prison girlfriends, whatever you want to call it, helping them deal with the stresses that they go with as well. Miss Dutchy wants to know, when will Shelly be ready to tell her story? I'm hoping soon. You know, it's not that she's not ready. She's just a procrastinator. She puts it off. We talk about it and she's like, oh, you know, so I think the best way, I think doing it live really is the way to do it. I know that that was the first video we've done live, guys, with an interview, just in case you're wondering. I mean, we've talked with Todd, but it was more just organic conversation. But the interview that we just had with Holly Coleman, that was the first live interview we've had like that. And I feel like it went really well because it's just a organic, open conversation. When you're doing the pre-recorded videos, you know, it's scripted, you're going through a list of questions and you got to go in and edit it. This seemed to flow really, really well. Prison parent too. Absolutely. That would be a great topic to talk to prison parents. Tomorrow, maybe you'd be a great person to come on and talk about that, what it's like being a parent of somebody that's not only in prison, but has made it a little bit harder for himself than needed to be by some quick not thinking through consequences and making decisions. Going from a camp to a low, living through the situation he's in right now, could have been avoided with some rational thinking. And these are things that we try to install to people before they go into prison. That's why we urge you guys to pick up that book from Tony Robbins, Awaken the Giant Within. I'm telling you, this book will help you. If you're in a situation where you are vulnerable, like a lot of you are right now, that are getting ready to go to impulsive behavior, exactly, Tamara. If you're in a position where you're getting ready to go to prison, most of us, this is when we become vulnerable and we want advice. We want to hear from people because we're not getting the advice that we thought we were going to get from our attorneys. Our thought process of what we thought was going to happen with our attorney is usually not the reality. We imagine our attorneys taking the money we give them or being federally appointed or whatever it is. We picture them being protectors, like they're going to protect us from going to prison. And that's not the situation 99% of the time. Their job is to make sure that you legally know your rights and that you're not taken advantage of on paper, and they present a plea to you in a pitching presentation to get you to take this plea. I just spoke to one of my attorneys. I had two attorneys when I went through the situation. I had my first attorney was federally appointed, this gentleman by the name of Dennis O'Brien. Once I was offered a pre-indictment plea and I knew I was potentially looking at prison time, I started to freak out and went into denial and thought, you know what, this is because I have a federally appointed attorney. I need to do what I need to do, get rid of this attorney, hire a paid attorney to get better results. So I fired Dennis. I hired another attorney by the name of Rob Nye out of Savannah, Georgia. And the ultimate outcome was exactly the same. The pre-indictment plea I was offered before I got indicted was the plea that ended up getting offered to me at the end after I went through all this additional headaches, getting arrested, getting raided, and spending tens of thousands of dollars on top of it. That was the same outcome. I just spoke to Dennis. Dennis just actually called me. Dennis O'Brien called me like 2 or 3 days ago. He found me on LinkedIn. And he called me up and asked me how I was doing and this and that. And we were talking in the middle of the conversation. I said, you know what? I owe you an apology. He's like, for what? I was like, man, because when you told me that I was looking at prison time, I freaked out. And I felt like I'm only looking at prison time because you're a free attorney and you're not good enough at your job. That was where my mind frame went. And it clearly wasn't the case. Dennis was a great attorney. The guy I hired, Rob Nye, was also a great attorney, but they both offered the same outcome. One was free, one wasn't free. That was the difference. So I'm probably going to have Dennis on here in a couple of weeks. We're going to do a live interview where Ask the Attorney. That's what that segment will be called. Ask the Attorney. And we'll take some questions, within the realm of possibility. You can't ask wild, crazy questions. We might have to put the delay timer on here to screen the questions as they come in. But we're going to give you guys the opportunity to talk to an attorney that can give you some legal guidance that I'm not able to give and allow you to ask some questions and maybe get a direction on what to go into with your attorney. But he's really a fan of what we're doing. He thinks this is a great cause. He sees the benefit in it. He's like, this is a great benefit. He goes, I wish I knew about guys like you for so many of my other clients that had all of these same questions that I just didn't really know how to answer because I've never been to prison. The 5K1s and how to prepare for RDAP and what the personal narratives and character reference letters. He's never heard of somebody doing a personal narrative in addition at the same time to the pre-sentence report. So I think it's a good idea. That was a very good interview. What interview are we talking about? But anyway, so Dennis O'Brien's his name. He's an attorney out of Savannah, Georgia. If you are looking at potential prison time and you're in that area and you want to talk to an attorney who's, here's what I like about Dennis. Dennis is down to earth. He will talk to you like a human being. He gets it. He cares. He's not just going to funnel it through. And, that was the thing, is he was very personable. And that's why I got thrown when I was like, wait, I'm going to prison. This can't be right. You must suck as an attorney because I shouldn't be going to prison because I'm not really a bad guy and I've never been in trouble before. How am I going to prison? Prison's only for murderers and rapists. That's what we grew up to think. So it's a hard pill to swallow when the attorney, and I imagine that's rough for attorneys because they must think, man, everybody thinks they're going to get off somehow. And in the feds, nobody gets off. My bad, Mike. Mike told me I'm not paying attention. Mike, I just can't read all the texts as they come in because I got to focus and give you guys this direct interaction, give you this attention of me staring you in the eyeballs. Anyway, so Wednesday's night, ladies' night. A couple of weeks, we're going to have Ask the Attorney. So we've got some fun stuff coming up. I don't know what day the Ask the Attorney question or the Ask the Attorney live interview is going to be yet. Best way you're going to be able to get notified of that and know ahead of time is by texting the word YouTube to 35074 and making sure you subscribe to my channel, because that's the only way you guys are going to be able to know when these things are coming. That's the best way to know. So tell everybody you know. Text the word YouTube. Not everybody, but people that need help. Text the word YouTube to 35074. Did you get O'Brien's opinion on the mutton chops? I'm not sure what you're referring to, Juan. I'm not sure I want to know what you're referring to. But I didn't get his opinion on anything. The call got cut short. He had a client calling him as we were talking. So we are going to be playing catch up. But hey, man, so those of you that are watching this video later on, not those of you that are in the room now, but for those of you that did not catch the live stream, if you're watching this after the fact, how cool is it that we now have the live chat added to the recording screen? Post a comment if you like that. Post a comment about anything you like or don't like about my videos, because that's how we improve. So we've got some ideas, right? Tomorrow's got some ideas. We should do a prison parent interview. We're going to do Ask the Attorney. And then we already know every Wednesday, we're going to be putting our focus on ladies. The beard. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. He said he did comment on that. He's like, I didn't recognize you. I was watching your YouTube videos, and I didn't recognize you without the big jihad beard. He actually called it a jihad beard. Very racist. But anyway. All right, guys. So it's Saturday. Go out. Do something. Have fun. Now, be safe. But more importantly, do something nice for somebody within your family, somebody that's going through this with you. All of you guys and women that are getting ready to go to prison, you've created a lot of victims with this. Your friends, your family, your children, your parents, your animals, whoever it is. Do something nice for them. Let them know that you appreciate what they're going through and what they're willing to do for you and the support they're going to continually give you while you're in prison. This is hard on them, just as hard on them as it is on you, if not harder, because they are not going to go through what you're going through. So they're not going to know what it's like in prison. They're only going to have their imagination. You guys are going to live through something that you've never imagined. It's going to make you a better, a stronger person, no matter what. Even somebody like Ian, Tamara's daughter, Tamara's son, going through something dramatic that he's going through right now from choices that he made, impulsive decision making. He's going to come out of this a stronger, better person if he allows himself to. And it's going to allow him not to make the same type of mistakes in the future because he's got some consequences to relate it to now. That's what you all need to do, is tie this to consequences. Pick up the book, Tony Robbins, Awaken the Giant Within. It will change your life if you allow it to. All right, guys, every day, people helping people, one day at a time. Community is method. I love every single one of you, and I will see you all Monday night at 6 p.m. Pacific. Peace.